Good morning, everyone. Today, let us start the discussion on nuclear decay. So far, we have discussed about the radioactivity. In radioactivity, we observed that the radioactive element emits certain radiations like alpha, beta, and gamma, and thereby it transforms into a new element. Transforms into a new element. So why this transformation takes place? Why this nuclear transformation takes place? What is the reason for the nuclear decay? All these things we have to discuss in this particular chapter, nuclear decay. So we have to think about the background of the nucleus. As you know that the nucleus consisting of the protons and the neutrons, they are collectively called as the nucleons. Okay, they are bound together and their total energy is less than the energy of the separated particles. Okay, when I consider protons and neutrons individually and take the sum of the energies of the protons and neutrons inside the nucleus, that energy of the collective energy of the protons and neutrons is always greater than the nuclear energy of the nucleus as a whole. Okay, there must be some variation in the mass, and this mass variation of mass is what is called as the mass defect, I think so. Okay, it is called as a mass defect. So difference in the mass is nothing but the mass defect. Okay, so this mass defect is appeared in terms of a energy, that is what is called as the binding energy. So binding energy is the energy given up when the nucleus is formed. We can also define this binding energy in another way, that is, it's an amount of energy given to the nucleus in order to split the nucleus into its constituent particles, that is protons and neutrons. Okay. In either way we can define the binding energy. Binding energy is the energy given when the nucleus is formed, or it is nothing but the energy given to the nucleus in order to split the nucleus into its constituent particles. Okay, in this way we can define the binding energy. Now let us come to the binding energy curve. So binding energy curve is nothing but the graph obtained by plotting a mass number along the x-axis and binding energy per nucleus along the y-axis. Okay. So graphs and things seems to be something like this, which is on your screen. So starting from the hydrogen, you can see hydrogen here. Hydrogen, starting from the hydrogen, it binding energy per nucleon goes on increases, and there are some peaks here, and these peaks are corresponding to the magic numbers. They are most stable elements. Apart from these, the curve goes on increases and reaches a stable value, maximum value for iron 56. Iron 56. This is a maximum value, and thereby it goes on decreases. You can see the graph. Okay. So binding energy per nucleon goes on decreases after iron. It goes on decreases. So up to iron, the nuclei of all the elements are going to be stable up to iron, and beyond iron the nucleus are going to be unstable. Okay, so iron is the stable, maximum value of the binding energy per nucleon we have. So this iron corresponds to stable element. So below this iron all the elements are somewhat stable, and beyond this, okay, all elements are going to be unstable, having unstable nucleus. So reason for this, so the third point I am mentioning here, binding energy curve shows that starting from hydrogen, nuclei become more stable as there are more protons and neutrons until iron. After that, the trend reverses. Okay, as I explained in the graph itself. As the mass number increases, mass number becomes higher, the ratio of the neutrons to proton becomes larger. So mass number increase ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, proton neutrons to proton ratio ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, proton to neutron ratio becomes more. The number of neutron goes on increases than the proton. Therefore the ratio is going to be higher and higher. So there are no stable nuclei with mass number higher than 83 or neutron number 126. So there are no stable nuclei. All nuclei are unstable beyond atomic number 83, mass number 83 and or neutron number 126. Okay. Therefore, a nuclei will decay following a trend in multiple steps, not in single step, in multiple steps it undergo disintegration or decay until becomes stable. ಅದು ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗೋವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೇಳಿರೋ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣಗಳಿಂದ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ಸು ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಡಿಕೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ as ದಿ ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಸೀರೀಸ್. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾನು. ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ? ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ, 3 ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಯುರೇನಿಯಂ ಸೀರೀಸ್, ಥೋರಿಯಂ ಸೀರೀಸ್, ಅಕ್ಟೀನಿಯಂ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಅಂತ 3 ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ. ಅವುಗಳಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಕೊನೆಯ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟು ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಲೆಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಅದರ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಸುಮಾರು ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸು ಎಮಿಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬೀಟಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಗಾಮಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಇಟ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಔಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಎ ಸೀರೀಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಯುರೇನಿಯಂ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಯುರೇನಿಯಂ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಯುರೇನಿಯಂ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಅದು ಎಂಡ್ ಆಗೋದು ಲೆಡ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಥೋರಿಯಂ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಥೋರಿಯಮಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಎಂಡ್ ಆಗೋದು ಲೆಡ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಅಕ್ಟೀನಿಯಂ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಕ್ಟೀನಿಯಂ ಈಸ್ ದ starting element and the final element will be lead. In all the series, lead will be the final element to obtain. Okay, so in between we have hundreds of materials that comes out. A continuous changing of the nucleus takes place, and there is a change of formation, there is a change of the form of the element takes place as the emission occurs. So when an unstable nuclei decays, the reaction involves the emission of a particle or energy. So ಡಿಕೆ ಆಗೋದ್ರ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಆ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ಸಿಂದ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಅದು ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಾದರೂ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಾದರೂ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಗಾಮಾ ಬಂದಾಗ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬೀಟಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಆ ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಗಾಮಾ ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಎನರ್ಜಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ನಾಟ್ ಟು ಕೌಂಟರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ದಿ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್, ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಟೆಬಿಲಿಟಿಯನ್ನು ಒಬ್ಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ, ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರವಾಗಿ ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್. ಸೊ ಯಾಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟೆಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಸ್ಟೆಬಿಲಿಟಿನ ಅನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನನ್ನು ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಗೋ ಡಿಸ್ಇಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಷನ್. ಯಾವಾಗ ಮಾಸ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ, ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಾನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ, when there is a not possibility of accommodating all the particles within the nuclear radius, within that small area of that radius of the nucleus is of the order of Fermi, that is 10 to the power minus 15 meters. Within that small area, it has to accommodate more number of particles. Then there will be, it is not possible situation. When it is not possible, then nucleus has to remove certain particles from its nucleus. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಆವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೋಗುವಂಥ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ಸು ಡಿಕೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ಫಾ, ಬೀಟಾ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಗಾಮಾ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಡಿಕೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ 5 ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಡಿಕೆ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಡಿಕೆ ಇದೆ, ಬೀಟಾ ಡಿಕೆ ಇದೆ, ಬೀಟಾ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಡಿಕೆ ಇದೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪಾಸಿಟ್ರಾನ್ ಡಿಕೆ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಮೊದಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಬೀಟಾ ಡಿಕೆನ ನೆಗಟ್ರಾನ್ ಡಿಕೆ ಅಂತಲೂ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗಾಮಾ ಡಿಕೆ ಇದೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಚರ್ ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಈ 5 ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ಸು ಡಿಕೆ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. 5 ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ವೇಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಆಲ್ಫಾ, ಬೀಟಾ ಮೈನಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ನೆಗಟ್ರಾನ್ ಡಿಕೆ, beta plus decay, positron decay, gamma decay and electron capture. These are the 5 important types of nuclear decay process. First let me consider alpha decay. What is meant by an alpha decay? As we know that here X is an element with mass number A, atomic number Z. When it emits alpha particle, you can see here X, A, Z. A is mass number, Z is atomic number, it emits an alpha particle. Okay. When it emits an alpha particle, new element Y is formed, which is having a to the power of A minus 4, Y to the power of A minus 1. That is mass number less by 4 units and atomic number less by 2 units. and it emits an alpha particle. Alpha particle is identified as a helium nucleus. Okay, therefore this changes takes place. So this is alpha decay process. One particular example, if we want, radium 226, mass and atomic number is 88. When it undergo disintegration with an alpha particle, it converts into radon 222 with atomic number 86, and alpha particle is emitted. Another one example I can take, uranium 238, when it emits alpha particle, it becomes thorium 234, 90 is the atomic number, and alpha particle is emitted. Therefore, I can say that it is an alpha decay is a type of radioactive decay in which an atomic nucleus emits an alpha particle, thereby transforms or decays into an atom with mass number less by 4 and atomic number less by 2. So this is the definition for what is meant by alpha decay. Okay, alpha decay ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೀವು ಬರೀಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೀವು ಕೊಡಬಹುದು. ಓಕೆ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ radioactive decay in which an atomic nucleus emits an alpha particle and thereby transforms or decays into an atom with mass number less by 4 and atomic number less by 2 units. Okay, and these are the examples I have given. Okay, ಈಗ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಡಿಕೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ, ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, what is meant by range of the alpha particle? It is also an important concept you have to understand. ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋ, what is meant by range of the alpha particle. Range ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? The distance through which an alpha particle can ionize the gas through which it passes is called range of the alpha particle. ಏನು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾನು ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಎಷ್ಟು ದೂರ ಹೋಗಿ ಆ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅಯನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಆ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾನು ರೇಂಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್. ದ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ವಿಚ್ ಅನ್ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಯನೈಸ್ ದ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ವಿಚ್ ಇಟ್ ಪಾಸಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ರೇಂಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್. ಅದನ್ನು ರೇಂಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀನಿ. ಎಷ್ಟು ದೂರ ಅಯನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಒಂದು ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಆದರೆ ಅದು ಎಷ್ಟು ದೂರ ಹೋಗಿ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅಯನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಹೇಳೋದೇನೆ ಆ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ರೇಂಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬಹುದು. ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ನಾವು? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಟ್ರಾವೆಲಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು ಇಟ್ಸ್ ರೇಂಜ್. ಸೊ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ರೀಚ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತದು, ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸ್ಡ್ and cannot ionize the gas further and lose its kinetic energy completely. Okay, ಆಗ ಹೋಗಿ ಅದು ಅಯನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿದ್ದ ಎನರ್ಜಿನೆಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಗ್ಯಾಸಿಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಗ್ಯಾಸಿಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅದೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಅಯನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ 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 ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಶಕ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಎನರ್ಜಿಯನ್ನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅಯನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸರ್ಟನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅದ್ರ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅದು ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ಸ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸ್ಡ್. ಆ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅದು ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಅದಲ್ಲೇ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಅದಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ಅದಲ್ಲೇ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತಪ್ಪ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ವಿಚ್ ಇಟ್ ಪಾಸಿಂಗ್ ಈಸ್ ರೇಂಜ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಟ್ರಾವೆಲಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು ಇಟ್ಸ್ ರೇಂಜ್, ದ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸ್ ಆಗೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನಾಟ್ ಅಯನೈಸ್ ದ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಫರ್ದರ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಲೂಸಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಕೈನೆಟಿಕ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ರೇಂಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್. First one is initial energy. It depends on initial energy or velocity with which they are emitted. That is R on the range and the karitini. It is proportional to V. V is the velocity of the alpha particles. Okay. Initial energy or initial velocity with which they are emitted. That is R is proportional to V and the ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. Okay. R is proportional to V and the ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. Next one upon the nature of the radioactive element. The nature of the radioactive element with which they, from which they are emitted. Okay, ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಎಮಿಟ್, ಯಾವ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಂದ ಎಮಿಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಮೇಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದರ ರೇಂಜ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಏನು, ದ ನೇಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ವಿಚ್ ದೇ ವರ್ ಪಾಸ್. ಯಾವ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಮೇಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದರ ರೇಂಜ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ದ ರೇಂಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ವಿಚ್ ದೇ ಪಾಸ್. R is proportional to 1/P. R is inversely proportional to pressure of the medium. Pressure is less, range is more. If pressure is more, range is less. ಸೊ ಆ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಅದರ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದರ ರೇಂಜ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅದರ ರೇಂಜ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ದೂರ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ವರ್ಸ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಪೋರ್ಷನಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ವಿಚ್ ದಿ ರೇಂಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್. Now it is clear now for all of you. Okay, what is meant by alpha particle range of the alpha particle, and what are the factors on which the range of the alpha particle depends. Okay, is it clear now? Okay, next pass on to the equations. The Giger, H. Giger in 1910 proposed an empirical mathematical relationship between the range and velocity of the alpha particle. He has given the relation, and the relation we have to see now. What is the relationship between the range of the alpha particle and velocity of the alpha particle? Okay, so this relationship was given by H. Giger in 1910, and the equation is something like this: R is proportional to V naught to the power of V naught Q, or R is equal to A V naught Q. Okay, R is equal to A V naught Q, where R is the range in meters, and V naught is the initial velocity in meter per second, and A is the constant of proportionality whose value is 9.6 into 10 to the power of minus 24. Okay, this is about the range of the alpha particle, and the equation is connecting the range and velocity of the alpha particles. Okay, this equation is what is called as the Giger's equation or Giger's law. Okay. Next, let us come to the initial velocity and the range, and initial velocity and initial energy of the alpha particle. We have to give a relation between the initial energy and velocity of the alpha particles, and it is given by E naught is the initial energy with which the alpha particles are emitted. It is given by 2.08 into 10 to the power of minus 14 into V naught square, where V naught is the initial velocity, E naught is initial energy with which they are emitted. So range and energy are related by the equation. Range and energy are related by this is the equation for connecting the velocity and energy. And next I am going to write the equation for range and energy, and they are related by the equation R is equal to 9.6 into 10 to the power of minus 24. The other equation is equal to sign bandide. So by mistake they have taken two equal sign. It should be one equal sign. Doesn't no mean in getting the two equal signs. Okay, so only one sign you have to take, and one more you can delete. So R is equal to 9.6 into 10 to the power of minus 24 into E naught divided by 2.08 into 10 to the power of minus 14 whole to the power of 3 by 2. So if you simplify 9.6 into 10 to the power minus 24 by 2.08 and 10 to the power minus 14, this constant ratio is works out to be 3.18 into 10 to the power of minus 3 E naught to the power of 3 by 2. Okay, and then this whole value 3.18 in 10 to the power of minus 3 can be written as B. Therefore R is equal to B into E naught to the power of 3 by 2, where B is a constant of proportionality and whose value is 3.18 into 10 to the power of minus 3. Okay, so these are the relations I am written here. Is very useful in mathematical calculations. In the examination, problems may be given based on the energy of the particles, alpha particles, the range of the alpha particles, and so on. So in the calculations, we need these equations, and you have to know all these equations very well, because if the problem is given, apply these equations and solve the problem, and you will get easily 5 marks. Okay. So these equations are valid only for the medium ranges. These equations are valid only for medium ranges. For lower range, there is a change in the formula. So R is proportional to V naught to the power of 3 by 2, and R is proportional to E naught to the power of 3 by 4. And for higher range, R is proportional to V naught to the power of 4, and R is proportional to E square. If I say Rs is the range of the alpha particles in the solid medium, and R are the ranges of the alpha particle in the air medium. Rs is the range of the alpha particle in the solid medium, and R is the range of the alpha particle in the air medium. Then we have a relation Range of the alpha particle in the solid medium is given by 0.312 r to the r into a to the power of 1 by 2 by rho, where r is the range in air, a is the atomic mass and mass number of the solid material, and rho is the density of the material. Okay. So now let us come to the disintegration energy. What is meant by alpha disintegration energy? It is defined as sum of the kinetic energy of the alpha particle and the recoil nucleus, or it is also called as the daughter nucleus. Recoil nucleus, first in the initially it is a parent nucleus. Once it emits an alpha particle, it becomes a daughter nucleus. When daughter nucleus is formed, at the time of emission of the alpha particle, the nucleus recoils. Okay, nucleus recoils. Okay, therefore it is called a recoil nucleus. So it is once the nucleus recoils, it is a daughter nucleus. It is called as a daughter nucleus because alpha particle is already emitted from that parent nucleus. Therefore it is called a recoil nucleus. Is nothing but the daughter nucleus. So here it is E is equal to half mv square, small m and small v square. Okay, small m small v represents mass of the alpha particle and velocity of the alpha particle. Capital M and capital V represents the mass of the daughter nucleus and velocity of the daughter nucleus. Okay, so this is the kinetic energy of the alpha particle, the first part of the equation. Half mv square, small mv square is the kinetic energy of the alpha particle, plus half into capital mv square is the kinetic energy of the daughter nucleus or recoil nucleus. So now disintegration energy is equal to half mv square plus half m capital V square. Okay, when an alpha particle is emitted from a nucleus, the nucleus recoils. This condition is very necessary to have conservation of linear momentum. Okay, right. So let small m and capital M be the mass of the alpha particle and the recoil nucleus respectively, and with velocity small v and capital V according to the law of conservation of momentum, I can write small mv is equal to capital mv. This is the momentum of the alpha particle. This is momentum of the recoil nucleus. Therefore, velocity of the recoil nucleus is given by small mv divided by capital M. I can substitute this value of capital V in the previous equation, the equation number 1. I can write as half mv square plus half m into, in place of capital V, I can write mv divided by capital M whole square. Okay. Now, let me take half mv square common factor. Half m small mv square. Okay, half m small mv square into, within the bracket we have 1 plus small m by capital M. So this is going to be the disintegration energy of the alpha particle. This is the expression for the disintegration energy of the alpha particle. In place of half mv square, I can write it as T alpha. T alpha is the kinetic energy of the alpha particle. Okay, T alpha represents kinetic energy of the alpha particle. That is E is equal to T alpha into 1 plus capital small m by capital M. T alpha is equal to half m v square. Right. Next, let us come to the another quantity we have to define. What is that quantity? That quantity is nothing but a Q value. Q value is generally in nuclear physics we come across this Q value of a nuclear reactions. What is meant by Q value? Q value is calculated simply. You take the mass difference and then multiply that mass difference by C square. Okay. Or mass defect. Mass difference is the mass defect. Mass defect multiplied by the C square. That is energy value. Q value means energy value. Energy value is calculated based on the principle of law of Einstein's equation. That is E is equal to mc square, where E is energy value and m is mass. Here in this case we take mass defect, mass difference and multiplied by the C square. Easily you can calculate the Q value of any nuclear reaction. It may be alpha decay, it may be beta decay, beta plus or beta minus, whatever it is. Okay, you can easily calculate what is the Q value of nuclear reaction. Okay, so in this case, Q value of alpha decay is the difference of mass of the parent and combined mass of the daughter and alpha particle multiplied by C square. Okay, so Q value of alpha decay is nothing but Q alpha is the difference of the mass of the parent and the combined mass of the daughter and alpha particles multiplied by C square. And right here mp minus md minus alpha m alpha into c square, where mp is mass of the parent nucleus, md is mass of the daughter nucleus, m alpha is mass of the alpha particle, and c is the velocity of light. Okay, it is also equal to the difference, if it is also equal to the difference between the sum of the binding energies of the daughter and the alpha particle and that of the parent nucleus. Okay, so q alpha can also be defined given by q alpha is equal to T alpha plus Tt, that is kinetic energy of the alpha particle plus kinetic energy of the daughter nucleus. That's all. Okay. So now let us come to the very important law, that is Giger-Nuttall law. Examination ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಇದನ್ನ 2 ನಂಬರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, 2 ನಂಬರ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಇದನ್ನ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಗಿಗರ್-ನಟ್ಟಲ್ ಲಾ ಅಂತ ಕಾಮನ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೇಳುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇದು. ಸೊ ಜನರಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳುವಂತ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೀನ್ ಬೈ Giger-Nuttall law? Giger found in an experiment that alpha emitter with large decay constant emits more energetic alpha particle. So alpha emitter, any alpha radioactive sample with large decay constant generally emits more energetic particles. At the same time, the elements which have lesser alpha decay constant, lesser decay constants have lesser energy alpha particles, emits lesser energy alpha particles. Those disintegrate slowly, emits alpha particles of lesser energy. So those alpha emitter with large decay constant emits more energetic alpha particles, and those which disintegrate slowly emits alpha particles of lesser energy. Okay, so when we plot a graph of log R versus range of log of range versus is plotted against the log of decay constant lambda, a straight line is obtained for each radioactive series. The series, the relationship between the range and the decay constant is called Giger-Nuttall law. The relationship between the range and decay constant is called Giger-Nuttall law. It is given by log lambda is equal to A plus A log R plus B. Log lambda is equal to A log R plus B. A is constant, which has a practically the same value for all radioactive series, and B a constant which has a different value for each series. Okay, so this is the graph. You can see now log lambda along the y-axis and log R along the x-axis, and we have 3 straight lines, and this is how we get the graph. Okay, this is a very important law you have to study, okay, for the point of examination. And in the end, we have to know what are the uses of this Giger-Nuttall law. So with the help of this graph, we can determine the decay constant of a radioactive element with very short and very long half-lives. And by measuring the range in air, lambda can be determined from the graph. Okay, by measuring the range in air, lambda can be determined from the graph. Now, at the end of this, we have to have one more important theory. It is called as Gamow theory of alpha decay. It is also an important equation for the point of examination. You will get 8-mark question for this. Okay. So the mean life of alpha decaying nuclei varies from the order of 10 to the power of minus 7 to 10 to the power of 10 years. The range of the mean life is around 10 to the power of minus 7 to 10 to the power of 10 years. Minus 7 seconds. I think this is a second I have to mention here. 10 to the power minus 7 seconds to 10 to the power of 10 years. So such a wide range of mean life is there for alpha decaying nuclei. Okay. So inside the nucleus, 2 protons from highest proton energy level and 2 neutrons from highest neutron energy level combine to form an alpha particle. Okay. So inside the nucleus, there are so many protons and neutrons. Among these protons and neutrons inside the nucleus, 2 protons of highest energy level and two neutrons of highest energy level, they combine to form an alpha particle, separate entity, they form a separate entity, and this entity is what is called as the quasi-bound state. This formation is what is called as the quasi-bound state. And it acquires an energy which is approximately equal to Q alpha. Okay, neglecting the correction due to a recoil of the nucleus. The alpha particle is bound to the potential well created by strong short-range nuclear forces. Short-range nuclear forces created a potential well within the nucleus. So within that potential well, this formed group will be, for alpha particle is bound to that potential well. Okay. This is also, it is not like that. There is also a Coulomb repulsion between the quasi-alpha particles and the rest of the nucleus. Say nucleus alli ಒಂದು alpha particle form ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಮತ್ತು ಉಳಿದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದಾವಲ್ಲ ಅವುಗಳ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ there is a Coulomb repulsion between these two. Okay. Opposite the Coulomb repulsive force will be there between the quasi-bound alpha particle and also the remaining particles of the nucleus. So due to high potential barrier arising from the Coulomb field around the nucleus, all nuclei in radioactive substance do not disintegrate immediately to give rise to alpha particle. Coulomb repulsive force is also there outside the nucleus because of the electrons which are revolving around the nucleus. So there is a Coulomb field is also there. There is a force between the electrons and the nucleus. This is nothing but the Coulomb force. Okay, Coulomb force is also there. Coulomb potential is there outside the nucleus. So it is not possible to give out particles, alpha particles, so immediately. Okay, it is not possible for a nucleus to disintegrate immediately to give rise to an alpha particle because of the external potential barrier, which is external potential, that is Coulomb field, due to the Coulomb field around the nucleus because of the electrons present outside the nucleus. Okay, so the potential height of this potential barrier, which is constructed by the nuclear forces, is of the order of, so say for example of the uranium-235. In case of uranium-235, I'll take the example of the uranium-235. It is around 26 MeV. 26 MeV. But an alpha particle should have at least this amount of energy to escape from the nucleus. If alpha particle has to escape from the nucleus, it should have this amount of energy. ಎಷ್ಟಿರಬೇಕು? 26 MeV of energy ಇದ್ದರೆ, ಈಗ ನಾವು ಒಂದಾಗಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ, ದ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಹಾವ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ಎ ಸಪ್ರೇಟ್ ಎಂಟಿಟಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಎರಡು ಪ್ರೋಟಾನ್ಸ್, ಹೈಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಪ್ರೋಟಾನ್ಸು ಮತ್ತು ಹೈಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಎರಡು ಒಂದಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವಲ್ಲ, ಕ್ವಾಸಿ ಬೌಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದಾವಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅನ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಆಫ್ 26 MeV. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಬಟ್ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ? ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ 4 to 9 MeV ಆಫ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ 4 to 9 MeV ಆಫ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ. ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇರೋದು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. therefore ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಕಲ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಕಲ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಅಕ್ರಾಸ್ ದಿ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಂಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ. ಅಕ್ರಾಸ್ ದಿ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಕಲ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್. ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಕಲ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಸಫಿಷಿಯೆಂಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ. ಎಷ್ಟಿರಬೇಕು? 26 MeV ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ಗೆ? ಬರೀ 4 MeV ಇದೆ. 4 to 9 MeV ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, 26 MeV ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಲು ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಯರಿಂದ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ನು ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಕಲ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಕಲ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇಲ್ಲವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಎಮಿಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್, ದೆನ್ ಹೌ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಇಟ್? ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಮ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ತಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಮ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ಸ್ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಇಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್. ವೆನ್ ಎವರ್ ದಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಕಲ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಹಸ್ ಟ್ರೈಡ್ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್, quantum physics or quantum mechanics gives an explanation for that failure found in the classical physics. Okay, we can take the help of the quantum mechanics in order to explain certain phenomena which are not possible to explain from the classical way. Okay, so classical mechanics gives an explanation for the ejection of the alpha particle by the nuclei. So in 1928, G.A. Gamow provides first approximation to the alpha decay. He is the first one to give an explanation for the alpha decay. He made two assumptions about the potentials. ಎರಡು assumptions ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, with the nucleus of radius r, the potential is assumed to be simply symmetrical, spherically symmetrical constant potential well. So potential well ಏನು ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಲ್ಲ, it is simply a spherical symmetrical constant potential well of V of r is equal to minus V naught, that is for 0 less than or less than capital R. And second assumption is the effect of nuclear interaction is assumed to vanish. Nuclear interaction ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ವ್ಯಾನಿಷ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಔಟ್ಸೈಡ್ ದಿ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್, ಔಟ್ಸೈಡ್ ದಿ ರೇಡಿಯಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್. ಸೊ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಇಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ವೆಲ್ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, goes on decreases as the radius increases, the distance from the nucleus increases. Okay, the potential immediately outside and out to is a spherically symmetrical. Electrostatic Coulomb potential is given by V of r is equal to 2 into Z E square divided by r, for r less than small r less than infinity. With these two assumptions, he given an explanation for the alpha decay. Here is the explanation. Suppose an alpha particle is here when it is not coming out of the nucleus, out of this potential barrier. So within the nucleus, this is the distance of the nucleus. This is a nuclear distance. This is the radius of the nucleus. Okay. So this is the potential well. Potential well created by the Coulomb repulsive forces. Sorry, the strong nuclear forces. This is the potential goes on decreasing as the distance increases. This is Coulomb interaction forces. This one is, it goes on decreasing now as the distance from the nucleus increases. So ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಫೈನ್ ಅಟ್ ಲಾರ್ಜರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಬಿ 0 ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಅಟ್ ಇನ್ಫೈನೈಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದು ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ವೆಲ್ ವಿತಿನ್ ದ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್. ಇದ್ರ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, ನಮಗೆ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಇದು ಮೂವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Okay, it is moving here and there. Each and every time an alpha particle moving and hits the barrier, hits the wall of the barrier, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಡೆಯುತ್ತದೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ, ಈ ಬೌಂಡ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೊಡೆಯುತ್ತದೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬೌಂಡ್ರಿ ಹೊಡೆಯುತ್ತದೆ. ಹೀಗೆ ಅದು ಮೂವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಮೂವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಈಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ 4 MeV. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ 26 MeV. 26 ಇದ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡೋದು. ಆದರೆ ಬರದೇ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಅದು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಜಂಪ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬರೋಕ್ಕಾಗದೇ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ potential well. ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಓಡಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತದೆ. It is always going here and there within the potential well. Okay, so each, according to Gamow ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, according to Gamow he stated that in each and every time when an alpha particle hits the potential barrier, there is a finite chance of escaping the alpha particle through the potential barrier. ಸೊ ಈ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ ಹೊಡಿತಾ ಪ್ರತಿ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಚಾನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಟು ಟನಲ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್. ಹಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ವೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್, ಸೊ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಎ ಚಾನ್ಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಎ ಚಾನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಟನಲಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್, ಟನಲಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್. So with this small energy, so energy equal to the 4 MeV, this is energy corresponding to the 4 MeV or energy of the alpha particle. Okay, so it has a chance of tunneling through the barrier. ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬಂದು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಹೀಗೆ ಬಂದು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. This is how the alpha particle is coming out of the potential barrier instead of coming out from the regular way. Usual way ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅದು. By tunneling effect, so alpha particle is coming out of the nucleus. The same explanation I am going to give here. When an alpha particle exists inside the nucleus, is in constant motion. It is constrained inside the nucleus by the potential barrier. It is always constrained inside the nucleus by the potential barrier. Every time the alpha particle strike the potential barrier, there is a very small but finite probability of its passing or leakage through the barrier. It is called tunneling effect or tunnel effect. Through tunneling, an alpha particle comes out of the nucleus. Gamo's theoretical expression is obtained as log lambda to base 10 is equal to log of V by 2R to base 10 plus 1.29 into ZD to the power of half. ZD means atomic number of the daughter nucleus. Atomic number of the daughter nucleus to the power of half, R to the power of half minus 1.72 ZD K to the power of half. So these are all 1.72, 1.29 are all constant values. Okay. Alpha is the decay constant, V is the velocity with which the alpha particle move inside the potential well, Zd is Z minus 2, that means daughter nucleus, atomic number of daughter nucleus, T is kinetic energy of the nuclear alpha particle such that T is less than V of R. Okay, so this is how an alpha particle is emitting from the nucleus. So this is a very important theory for the point of examination. It's an 8-mark question. All of you have to study well. Okay. So this is all about the